Just a few fellas on a podcast, ripping in the pitching jokes and sharing some laughs. Right, with Jarret Bernstein. Ooh, they want to know if it's something, if it's anything. Often featuring Leedy Corbin.
Hey, LeClerc.
Hey, LeClerc's here.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going good.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Sorry I'm late. Had to put the little one down.
You had to put your dog to sleep. I get it.
Yeah.
No, Jarret,
No,
his
my daughter
child. He put his child to
his
sleep.
daughter.
His daughter.
You had a daughter? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Me either.
When did you have a daughter? When did that happen?
6 months ago.
Brand new.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited, man.
Rock and roll. Can we ask what her name is?
Yeah, her name is Maya.
Great
That's
name.
all you can ask about. Jarret, have you run into somebody who's like feels that question is rude?
I had a friend who was not revealing the name of the baby until after the baby was born. I know that LeClerc's baby is born now, but it made me think that maybe that's something. Like maybe people don't want to be broadcasting their babies' names out into the universe.
Sure. I can appreciate
Interesting. That. Oh, I guess, but I feel like before coming to term, like the concern is that there might be a miscarriage or something, and then you've named this baby, and everybody's like, "Oh, how is Alicia?" And you're like, "She didn't become Alicia."
Or an abortion. I respect women's right to choose.
Have you guys watched? Have you guys watched any of the hearings of these Republican ding dongs who are trying to like gotcha like abortion doctors and stuff? Have you guys seen any of these?
I've not. No.
I saw this guy who was like, so you would be fine with a baby whose head is coming out of the birth canal and just like slit its throat. And I was like, are you what?
And the woman responding is like, that he's like, hypothetically, what in that situation you'd be okay. She's like, that is not a hypothetical situation. That there's no way that would ever happen.
Never
so I can't
happened.
That. And he's like, but if it did, she's like, no, it never has happened and it never will happen.
They make it seem like a fantasy of theirs. It's like, you telling me I paid you enough. And the baby's hair was a little bit too curly for my liking. Would you?
All right, but what if it made me super horny? Does that change the equation at all?
LeClerc, thanks for joining us again. Nice to have you back. Sorry, I didn't know that you had a child since the last time I talked to you, which is pretty crazy. He was like, you know, cause I got time schedule stuff, cause dad duties. And I was like, wait, this is the last time I talked to you, you had a child. Like, it wasn't even like we're trying. It was just like, you must have gotten your wife pregnant like after the last time we talked. It might have been happening while we were talking.
Maybe the last episode that we did, and he was like, "Oh man, I am all riled up. I don't know what's going on here. Feel like I want to have a kid now."
Yeah, this last time I did the podcast. It was foreplay
We hear it all the time, man. It's a tale as old as time.
That's what's so frustrating about doing these podcasts with Leedy on the road while I'm here, because we normally just straight fuck after the show.
Oh my God.
Woo, Lordy.
I mean, after the
spicy.
show, it's so sad. It's just me.
And your recorder?
This is a hairbrush.
But it's the butt end, which I've heard sometimes ladies use.
Which is also a recorder.
Cool. So if anybody has an urgent catch up, I'm going to opt out because we're going to try to keep it to a tight 90 minutes
Keep
today.
it tight today.
Yeah, I'm going to opt out too.
Oh, well, in that case, nobody worry. Good old Ketchup Berenstein. He is on it. Well, I want to kick it to LeClerc. I know you had a baby, but is there anything else you wanted that you got going on that you wanted to catch us up on?
I just recorded my first album.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Woo.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Can we ask what the name is?
Yeah.
The name of the album is I Am LeClerc. And it's like a callback to one of my jokes in the special, but
And also, that is who you are.
yeah.
It's a callback and also a true statement.
Yeah, I thought it would fit as it's my debut album, so I figured it'd be a nice way to introduce myself with my shitty name. So yeah.
Is it a play on I Am Legend a little bit?
No. I'm trying to stay as far away from Will Smith as possible.
Why? Did something happen? There an occurrence?
I taped it last Sunday at New York Comedy Club. We did 2 shows.
Sunday.
Dude, awesome.
And the second one sold out completely. They must have heard about the first one. And it was great, man. I was super happy to do it. It's been a long time coming, and I can't wait to get that thing out there, man.
That's awesome.
great.
Congrats, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Can't wait to hear it.
Are you are you in the editing process now? Are you going to be part of that pretty heavily? How do you?
So the record label just sent over the raw. So I got that maybe a few hours ago. So next time I get some free time, I'm gonna just buckle down with the pen and the pad and hopefully have a nice idea of what the album will sound like when I'm done with that.
Well, you got to be careful with that raw. You could have another kid.
Oh yeah. Fool me once.
What do you think the album's going to clock in at roughly? How much time did you kind of prepare in your head?
I prepared a little over 45 minutes. I don't think people want to listen to an album that's longer than 45 minutes.
I can appreciate that.
I don't know when's the last time you guys listened to like an hour of straight stand-up, but I think it's pretty difficult for like the younger generation to just sit down and listen to one voice for that long. So
Tell me about it.
Just even you describing it is too long for Leedy.
Leedy, you're the younger generation.
Yes.
Is that definitely true? Or are you kind of like, yeah, keep those albums short? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, no, I feel like my opinion on this is skewed because it's my job to listen to the same person do the same bit of stand-up for hours every night. But I actually am the opposite opinion. I will continue watching if it has a running story. I don't think I could watch more than 45 minutes of like one-liners, but if there's a running story.
Yeah,
Except
I'm curious
for Brett's
about...
set.
Except for Brett's set.
Just all these one-liners. It goes on for 45 minutes, and then you got to go to New Jersey. You got to go to Uncle Vinny's. It's so annoying.
I am curious what your relationship is to a comedy album, Leedy, because you see so much live comedy. You've seen so much Zoom comedy. And since you are part of the comedy entourage, you're inculcated into the scene, like, what's your attitude towards it?
I don't know that I have a particular attitude towards an album. Do you mean towards an album in respect to like what, a special, just listening as opposed to seeing? Or what?
Yeah, if you are going to absorb stand-up comedy, are you going to go for an album? Are you going to go, try to see a live show? You're going to try to see like an HBO special?
I'm such a visual person that I do actually prefer seeing the person actually on stage, but yeah.
I think I actually prefer listening. I know it is a visual medium, but I do like taking the audio as the craft and thinking about that as I'm like, walking down the street, listening to the bits and everything.
No, I agree. I think, there's a lot you can do as a performer. And certainly there are, I'm not a good example of that, but there are people who are like excellent visual performers. But for the most part, you can't do as much as somebody can do in their own brain with their imagination. So when you're just listening to it, the visualization it's going to be to your own sensibility. Like you're going to imagine the funniest thing to you in your head visually.
Facts on facts. I think it also helps that listening to stand-up is how I fell in love with stand-up comedy. Like listening to Cosby, Carlin, and I think like Jackie Mason was another one that my dad had some albums of, and Emo Phillips. Like I was so much more of listening to stand-up before I ever started watching stand-up. Cannot wait to listen. You're an excellent comic. I'm sure your album's going to be dope as hell.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Big finish.
All right, Leedy.
Big finish. Wait, now I have to tell just real quick. I have to tell a story. First time LeClerc and I met, we did this gig with Kevin Dabrowski at a college where it was like a stand-up judgment. Like the students would do some stand-up and then we would be the judges. But first we started it with a show. We did like an hour show and LeClerc was like doing great. And then he got to his last joke and just... I guess he just blanked or I don't know exactly what you said that was going through, but you're just like, all right, big finish, big finish, big finish, big finish.
So
the audience laughed and he's like, big finish, big finish, big finish.
That is excellent. I love it.
We're all performers, right? We've all done the set and then we get to the end of our set and we're not sure like what we're going to say as our last joke, right?
Yeah.
Right.
or you're afraid of saying the same joke twice or what have you.
Sure,
So
sure. Definitely.
I've exhausted all of my material, every decent joke I've ever written, and
Yeah, we were like baby comics too then.
yeah.
That was way back in the day.
So I get the light, and I'm like, all right, it's time for the dismount. And I remember saying, all right, big finish, and then having nothing. And then I just kept saying big finish.
Dude, it is. I think, jokes not aside, that is a great way to end a set. Just like say it a bunch more. And then you just leave the stage. I think that's excellent. I love that.
I started saying it in the bedroom. My wife hates it, but
You must take T-Drive.
No.
Oh, poor LeClerc. Do you know about T Drive?
no.
All right, just
Well, let us
2
tell
seconds,
you about it.
2 seconds. T Drive is this commercial for a testosterone supplement that went viral because the commercial had bizarrely all these guys talking about how big their loads are now that they take T Drive. It was
It's
like
a testosterone supplement.
yeah, he's like, I feel like I can bench press more, I have more energy, and my loads have been insane. And then they go to the next guy and he's like, I'm telling you, you want bigger loads? You got to get on T Drive, man.
But it almost looks like all the people doing the testimonials. They're like, okay, I hit the points, they hit the point, and like, oh yeah, and my loads are huge. Muscle, energy, you know.
That's
Big loads.
Don't forget to say how big your loads are. I got it. Anyways, all right. Well, since that was a clerk's catch up, I have one thing for you guys today. I was recently reacquainted with, I don't know if you guys have had this, but when I feel like there are those people or experiences early on in your life that were sort of like happen to imprint your sexuality. And there was an actress who, I don't know if this was like a chicken and egg thing. Like, I don't know if she was a woman that I saw and my little 13-year-old brain was like, I'm going to be attracted to that. Or if my little 13-year-old brain was like, that's the hottest person I've ever seen in my entire life. And she just became like this like platonic ideal for like what an attractive woman is. And if you were asking like for a 13-year-old boy, like what they want for their platonic ideal, the answer is, I really hope that they do a couple of movies where they get like naked and have a lot of sex. And that is this actress's MO. Her name was Jane March. Anybody else? Jane March? No?
Jane March.
A little obscure. She did one artsy movie where she does a lot of sex. And then she did one really trashy bad movie with Bruce Willis where she does a lot of sex. And boy, oh boy, what an attractive lady. And so I was just like watching this movie and just like time traveled back into that brain and was just like, oh yeah. Oh, this lady.
And the first time you saw her was in one of those trashy movies?
First time I saw her was in the artsy movie because I used to like stay up late watching like, you know, cable,
Porn.
hoping that I would see a movie that had boobs in it.
Sure.
And there was this one that was like a good movie where I was just like, oh, this one's got like, oh, okay. And so it was like, you know, it was slow paced and it was interesting and it had like beautiful cinematography, but also like a very explicit sex scene where I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, you know?
Well, I think that's right there is where the imprint probably started.
Maybe.
You're like, what could have possibly done it? Oh my God, I'm watching a sex scene, but I just think she's really attractive now.
Also, Jarret, I totally think that you just watched like Goo Guzzler 17. Like, what a film.
Good. You guys don't understand. It's good. It's really
Artsy.
They're making really interesting choices here, but
So
the
put the
cinematography.
penis in the butt instead of the vagina. What an interesting commentary on society.
Get out of my room! I'm watching art.
All right, yeah, that's my only thing. That's my catch up.
All right. Well,
It's not
folks,
funny, but it's true.
It's interesting for sure. Folks, if you want to guess the order today, we have an L in the mix. So calculate that in. And we still have not figured out the prize for our winner for who guessed correctly what the order would be. But boy, when we figure it out, it will be a prize.
Ooh, here we should have a second contest. Guess what the prize is going to be. And then when we get a guess that we like, we'll be like, that's it. You did it.
We've got two guesses here. We've got Jarret, Brett, LeClerc, Rob. And then we've got Brett, LeClerc, Rob, Jarret.
Well, unfortunately, no winners this week. Our order, we had one person who's real close. Our order this week is Brett, Rob, LeClerc, Jarret. Brett, Rob, LeClerc, Jarret. Brett, Rob,
Nice.
LeClerc, Jarret. That's the order.
I will use this time to remind our guessing audience that we always put the guest third. So I don't know why you guys aren't picking up on that yet.
I would like to take this opportunity to remind our audience that they're idiots. So,
Join the Patreon.
What your problem is, morons. Patreon.com/ITApod.
Make sure you like and subscribe, you dumbass.
Smash that subscribe button if you can find it, you idiots.
Whoopsie daisies.
Oh, Brett's gone.
I unplugged my camera.
Which one of you
Okay,
morons
okay.
did that? Huh?
You guys are wonderful, and I love you. I think the toxic masculinity is good because it's very useful when you want a dude to do something that he doesn't want to do. All you have to do is convince him that not doing that thing makes him a pussy, and then he will do it. You know, so like if you're in a relationship for a while with a guy and you're like, is this guy going to propose or not? You just need to sit him down at the kitchen table and say, hey, are you ever going to ask me to marry you, or are you too much of a little bitch? And he'll propose to you that night. That's it. That's the bit. Toxic masculinity is good. It's something I posted a long time ago, and I have tried it a couple times on stage, but I'm not quite sure how to format it.
Yeah.
I remember this bit because I had a lot of fun tagging that on Facebook.
That's right.
I love this concept, and it makes me feel like there are other aspects of toxic masculinity that I'd be curious for you to qualify, because that's just one element of it, which is like afraid to look feminine in any kind of way. But then there's all these other elements too, and then they're kind of escaping me at the moment. Maybe you guys can just remind me of the other bad things.
Hiding your emotions, refusing to share your feelings,
Sexually harassing women.
yeah, not communicating like relationship things, like like not being able to tell your friend that you love them.
Locker room talk.
So with all that stuff included, which all seems pretty bad, like unless it might be a fun venture for you to try to find the silver lining in all of those behaviors as well. That might be like a fun journey for me to watch you try to,
That would be
nice
a good
tightrope.
way to flesh it out. Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think you have to address them. Is all, because you're picking one solid thing, or say that you're actively not going to address the other ones by being like, there's one aspect of toxic masculinity that I think is positive. That could be, one way
So
for
maybe
me to
like
not
locker room talk. It's like, well, listen, it's bad right now, but that's because men don't know what they're doing. But the fact that they're discussing sex could be good. You need to give them more pointers so that they're actually like, oh, what makes women come is actually when you stimulate their labia slowly and then work your way towards the clitoris.
we need more adult locker rooms so that the conversation ends in middle school. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
So few people are in locker rooms at the age where they can talk about sex responsibly.
There we go.
Oh, you know what really makes a girl come? What really makes her scream is when you listen.
Yeah.
That'll also work on all platforms. Like you can bring it into the political scope. Like, what are you scared of vaccines? What are you scared of needles, you pussy? Huh?
Oh yeah.
You're scared of bacteria? What's going on? You wimp. And it's I think I think if you did that, honestly, I really do think it would work. Like this idea that people think it's masculine to not take a vaccine. It's like, no, I think you're scared of needles. I think that's what it is.
Right.
I would like to tweak the setup just a little bit, as opposed to, I know it takes a little bit of the bite out of it, but instead of toxic masculinity is good, I would say toxic masculinity can be useful.
That's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah,
I was kind of just flubbering around there, getting the idea out.
Yeah, I mean, I
think it was
appreciate the smack in the face that saying that is, that really sort of like shocks people into attention, and they're gonna be like, "Ooh, how is he gonna justify this? That's exciting."
Sometimes I find it funny when people refer to healthy masculinity and they try to define what that is. But usually if it's like a girl defining it, okay, remember the commercial where the guy's about to like go approach the girl in the street, but the other dude is like, whoa,
no,
not cool.
No. Yeah.
But he like stops him with his hand. So it's more like healthy masculinity is just when you're willing to beat up the right person. Like that's like, oh, you're gonna threaten physically this man? Okay. Ding! Nailed it.
All right, question, Brett. Would we have superheroes if it wasn't for this idea of like masculine men stepping up and demonstrating what they believe masculinity to be. When Batman comes in to save the day, he's not going to give the robber a talking to, right? I think the idea of like what it means to navigate as a man has been largely defined by toxic traits of masculinity. So I think the idea of toxic masculinity, the umbrella has become so large that it's hard for a person to say masculine without associating it with toxic behavior.
Well, that's interesting because I think that speaks to my point where when you really do get people alone in a room and try to get them to define their position on it, my guess would be that they're totally fine with men being brutish, willing to fight at the drop of a hat, blah, 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 as long as it's in the defense of the things that they like. And it's just not readily brought up. But you're just like, a woman. I mean, you can watch the Will Smith slap thing. There were plenty of women who for years had dry vaginas, and all of a sudden they're like, what just happened? Maybe I like that. I don't know. It came out of the woodworks. I was like, all you beta cucks, watch out, because
Oh my God.
something just got awoken. But it surprised me even. People who I definitely thought would not think that, right? People who were, I'm like, no way, you're all about Timothy Chalamet. And they were just like, ooh, well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you should defend your wife like that. And I was like,
Timothy Chalamet, the guy who hid under the table when Will Smith went up there? Absolutely not. I kind of want to go back to this idea of superheroes, though, because it's interesting. When I think about what every single superhero does, it's like 90% beating people up.
Right.
Even when Batman's thing is being more clever than the bad guy, like the Riddler or Ra's al Ghul or something, there's always like a moment at the end where he like solves the puzzle and Riddler's right there and the Riddler's like, ee! And Batman's like, pow,
punch.
It's like the cherry on the side. It's like, you give us what we want, Batman. You got it. Yeah, we watched your whole episode about you being smart. All right, now just fucking punch somebody.
If Batman was written without toxic masculinity, the things being written out wouldn't say kapow. They would say, I'm sorry, I have to do this.
That's a good point.
I've also found that Batman, for me, his trademark has always been scaring the person that is committing the crime to the point where they run out of ammo, drop their gun, and run away. And that's when he beats them up. Like when they're completely submitted, they're running away. He wraps up their feet, beats them up, hangs them upside down, and then embarrasses them for them to get arrested by a police officer. Like, that's our hero. That's our collector. By the way, he could just give them jobs. He's rich. But
There are a lot of ways that Bruce Wayne could have solved that problem with his money that he decided not to.
Yeah.
I definitely like when superheroes explore the concept of like, I'm a healer and that's my superpower, or like I have mental abilities. Your Professor X's and your whatever. Like the X-Men kind of did a good job of exploring those other kind of powers where it's not just punch, but rather like, oh, I have this weird, unique skill or power. I like that.
But who's the number one X person? Who's the number one X-Men?
Besides Professor
Wolverine
X.
is probably the most famous.
Right.
Yeah.
And popularity wise, yeah.
Punchy. That's all he does. He's very fast and he punches.
He's very stabby and
And he's very angry. He's got a lot of toxic anger there.
That's true.
Yeah.
Also, I think his trademark is that he's durable.
That's
I think
also true.
Yeah, when people think of Wolverine, it's like, oh, he could take a licking and he keeps on going forward, right? He's always the underdog, right? He's always outmatched. The guy he's fighting can overpower him, but he just keeps coming forward like the brute that he is. And I think that's why people are so enamored by this character that is Wolverine.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you think Professor X would be if he were toxically masculine? Like, how would that manifest in him?
I guess he would just like mind control women to take their clothes off.
Like what that pussy do?
He would mind control Wolverine's hand onto Cyclops' butt and be like, "Ha, you're gay."
I mean, I think about how he could violate people. Just the fact that he can control minds and also read people's minds. He can just find out your deepest insecurity. That's the crux of bullying, right? To find out what a person's insecure about and use that against them. So,
wherever he goes, everybody just talks about how big his cock is. Like, oh, here comes Professor X. Oh, he's got a huge cock. What the hell?
He could just put his dick pic in your brain, It's like women are walking into the room. It's like, it's 9 a.m. What? Come on. What? Do you like what you see?
All right. I didn't do that. No one will believe you.
We're gonna accuse a guy in a wheelchair.
I find this idea so interesting because it's almost like there was a collective unconscious thing happening where everybody's so upset about the strong are on the wrong side of things always, and they use their force and they use their power to oppress others. What if there was someone who was stronger but used their force for good instead? But at the same time, they're still lacking certain toxic masculine traits. So like, even though Professor X we're using as like an example of like, we could make him more toxically masculine, we could make all the superheroes more toxically masculine. You know, they're using violence to solve their problems, but they're also not typically objectifying women or trying to alpha other people or not being able to handle their own emotions and becoming violent. Well, I guess some of them do that. So yeah, I find this idea very funny.
Very interesting.
All right.
This is the second time on this episode where I finished a diatribe and then just
Oh, that's sorry.
Silence.
I got distracted by the chat. So that's
that's
where I
okay.
went. But
I understood it the first time because I was talking about my young boners. But this time I was like, surely we'll all get involved in this superhero conversation. I didn't mention my boner once. And I could have. Anyways, I love this premise, Brett. I think it's really
Great.
funny.
Yeah,
and
I like
think
expanding it out. I would like a better example of the marriage proposal thing is like whatever. But yeah, if any of you have any idea of like what is something that you would want a guy to do that he might not want to do, it's like a pretty simple thing.
Are you going to do the dishes or are you going to cry in your journal?
I will admit, Brett, like the proposal thing seemed just a little bit strange to me for this particular purpose. It just made my mind go in other directions, but something more simple and obvious that you should be willing to do in a relationship, as opposed to this like major decision about a relationship. It doesn't get my mind in the wrong place. Dishes is like perfect.
My parents are going to be in town. Do you want to meet them for lunch or are you scared?
I love that. Love that. Yeah, that's great. And then I love playing with the other ideas of toxic masculinity. And the superhero thing, I think that's like a whole other ball game, but there's a lot there. Thanks guys. I love it. Next up we've got
Brian.
Oh, yeah. This was something that I mentioned to, I think, Leedy on the road, or this came up, where I find it funny when people are so vocally against maybe the way they used, like their old tastes, things they used to do, things they used to like. Just like this idea of like, oh, that was me in 2003 at a Smash Mouth concert. And it's just like a weird thing to be like, oh yeah, this like these talented musicians at the height of their popularity, I liked them and I had a fun time. Like, oh, kill me. That's pretty much the whole thought. I just find it funny that we just have to be like, no, not anymore.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you remember this. The last time you were on, Rob, didn't you do a joke about how people do that with their fashion?
Oh, get out! You know what? Maybe I did because I think
I feel like probably somewhere in the back of your mind that like just in an unconscious way you just connected those ideas.
Okay, you know what?
I feel like remembering. Okay, all right. I wasn't trying to call you out on something, but I was like, oh, that's
no.
So
but you're
funny.
right because I did say the fashion thing, and it's so damn similar. Okay, I had a small one. I love when people give me a key.
You can still work on it.
Hold on.
You're not in trouble.
All right, I'll get the second one out, and you can comment on whatever you want to comment on.
All right.
I love when people give me a key, and they say, hey, that's important. Don't lose that. I'm like, I know what keys are. You know what I mean? Steve reminded me of that because he gave me a little key to the car. He's like, hey, it's a lot of money. It's expensive to whatever. And I'm like, I'm not in the habit of losing keys. Like it's a pretty big thing. Whether you tell me or not, it's not going to change my attitude towards it.
In defense of Steve, when he told me that, I had a guess of how expensive those key fobs are, and they were way more expensive than that. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I will not lose this.
Yeah, I had the exact same experience where he was like, yeah, they're important. And then he said the price, and I was like, oh, geez, I'm going to be careful.
Because we were on this topic, I just went to go look for my bus key, and I can't find it.
Oh, boy.
Ooh,
He's
boy.
gone.
I don't know if it's a filter or what, but I thought Leedy was leaving the screen because her room is on fire. Can you guys see like the smoky kind of like
Oh yeah, there's
background there?
You're right. It's
Yeah.
it's refreshing out of strange. I don't think it's focus. I think
don't
it's
know.
literally
It's just like the compression from all
yeah,
the
yeah.
light.
It's the compression going on. That's right.
I found
Yeah,
it.
which-
It's unchanging.
Yeah.
Wait. How did you? What were you doing right now that you were searching for it? Because your head was in the frame the whole time. Were your hands like reaching across the room?
I am an expert multitasker.
I'm picturing that guy in Spirited Away who has like the 8 arms and he's reaching for all the bath things, bath tokens.
Yeah, I mean, the one piece of logic that is getting in my brain about this is that there's a difference between what keys used to be and what keys are now. Because even like those new sideways keys are more expensive than a regular key, whereas a regular key you could replace for like $2 or something, right?
Maybe that's not the right object, but I feel like I've had this feeling before with other things too. So maybe I can come up with a better example.
Do you think
Well,
it
I'd
would
like
be
to
funny?
go back. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I do think it'd be funny to just that person thinks they have to explain to you the concept of keys. You know, or they're like, "This is important," and you're like, "I know." Without this, we can't get into my car, and we can't make the car move either. So, like, 2 things that we really want with cars, we need this for. So,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
lose
they're
it.
saying he's saying to you, this is important. Don't lose this. As if you were going to go, why?
Yes. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, like maybe I'm just misunderstanding. So maybe a way that I could say it that actually seems to make sense to everybody is I know that they just want to make the point clear that this is, to not lose it. But I cannot help but feel like they don't think I understand the purpose of a key or like the use for it or the importance of it. My brother just did it to me yesterday when I got to his apartment. I was like, "Hey, do you guys have a gym here?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you can use this fob." He's like, "But this gets you in like everywhere. It's kind of just don't lose it." I'm like, I wasn't planning on losing it if it was only going to get me into the gym.
I think there are people do that with everything, though. I think
It's
they're
true.
like, "Hey, this is my baby. Don't drop it." That's the same person across the board. It's like,
You're right. And
That's funny.
a good,
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, LeClerc, because I was just going to go in the opposite direction. Like, what's funny is people do that a lot for keys, but they don't do it with things that are more important. Like when you're getting a heart transplant, I don't think the surgeon's like, "Now be careful with this."
It's a human heart.
I like the idea of someone doing that and being burned in the past. They're just, here's my keys. I was like, all right. They're like, whoa, what are you doing? What? You didn't tell me how important they were.
and then they blame themselves, like, "Man, I should have told him not to lose those."
Oh yeah, is there anything that's the opposite? Something that seems like it would be very valuable, but they're like, don't worry about that. Oh, here you go. Like, I got plenty of those, but I can't think of what would be a funny example of that. Maybe the baby would.
Well, what's funny is that if you have more than one baby, that then becomes your attitude towards babies.
That's
So
true.
the first baby, you're like, "Be careful with my baby." The second baby, you're like, "Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I got this one over here.
Right.
I can make another one too."
I take T-Drive.
I want to go back to the other joke because I'm not sure how I feel on the statute of limitations on cancelability. I'm really not sure how I feel about it. Like, Dustin Hoffman did something like 40 years ago on a film set, and then he's canceled, and I'm like, I don't. Even if what he did is awful, it's like I just don't know how much you're supposed to go. Well, 90% of the people I know also do this in a worse capacity, and everybody's okay with it. But I should know that this is wrong and be completely uninfluenced by it, and it's et cetera. So I wonder if both of these jokes, the one about what you worried about, like back then, that could be an example of how maybe the statute of limitations on cancellation there should be some statute of limitations. Because you'll at the same time you'll be like, how dare Dustin Hoffman do that? But then you're like, oh my God, look how dumb I looked in that picture. Like just as an example of culture changes, and that's okay.
That would be so hard because I'm already my hackles are going up on trying to conflate or compare the two ideas of something that you changed your idea of fashion versus you have a different opinion. Your morals have changed on like what is considered sexual assault. For example, right? I'm not saying you're saying that, but that would be a tough.
Yeah, and I don't even know what the Dustin Hoffman thing is, but I'm just trying to like think. There have been some things where I'm like, I think the Kevin Hart one was good. Like it was like 6 or 7 years ago, and in that time, I do feel like culturally, the feelings on the F word have changed, and so that should have been taken into account.
Female,
but there
right? They don't like to say that.
Yeah. Shh, drop.
They do. I'm sorry.
streaming.
You can't put a muzzle on this guy.
If you didn't want complaints, you shouldn't have hired the king.
I mean, there's some examples where I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, actually, I love the wording one. You're right. If it's a joke, if it's like, some joke from Friends back then, like that is more in the vein of like something that you might find cringeworthy or like, I used to like that joke. I thought that was funny. We thought it was great that Chandler's dad dressed like a woman and
sure, exactly.
All right, or I don't even know if they confirmed that he was trans or he was just like part of a female burlesque show.
I think it's interesting to think also about, you mentioned them being popular at the time. So it's almost like if you could get everybody in the world into a room and show them just like the band Smash Mouth and be like, remember that we used to like this? It's like everybody in the room would be like, like we all had like a collective night of too many drinks,
but it's weird, right? Because it's akin to like showing, there's your leader. And then it's like images of Hitler giving speeches. What was that movie? Remember that movie? There was some movie where there was like a teacher and he creates a cult, but oh god, this is like one of these like movies that you'd watch in like history class. There's a teacher, he starts like starting a set of rules, and the class gets really into it, and then he incorporates uniforms, and then the class is like,
the Wave?
Really is that what it was? And it's really regimented. Then in the big climax at the end, the teacher's like, we have a big special reveal, and then he like shows like an Hitler youth rally.
Might have been,
like,
if that's not the Wave, it's the same premise.
Yeah.
The Wave, the movie The Wave has been brought up on the show a bizarre number of times. Statistically, it's impossible. Yeah, 2 times. That's weird. It's weird.
Well, I think the first time I brought it up, you guys are like, oh, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And now Rob is, I'm pretty sure, describing it exactly. And I'm like, is it the Wave? And you're like, nah, it can't be it.
I have no idea. Well, then I agree with you. It's probably the Wave then. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't remember the title, but I remember just vaguely that movie. It was starring Jane March, I believe.
Oh, remember who was in it? You were the actor who was in it, but you won't admit that you don't remember the name.
Sorry, my boner hit the computer stand. I'm sorry. Jane March is not really in it.
Jane March is not really in it. I'm sorry. I was making fun of Jarret's
okay. Damn, I missed the joke.
Okay. No, I do like Rob saying he can't remember the name of the movie, but it's called The Wave. It's called. No.
That can't be it.
No.
People in the chat are saying The Wave.
All right, I don't know. I don't remember the name of the movie.
You don't have to remember the name of the movie. We're telling you what the name.
I agree. That sounds like it. And just to be clear, Brett, the only reason I'm even being suspicious, not suspicious, just like I'm not immediately accepting it, was because of the way the information kind of unfolded. First, it seemed like no one knew what I was talking about, and then you're like, "That sounds like it's this." And
well, it sounded like that immediately. But then I was like, last time I brought up The Wave, nobody knew what I was talking about.
That's why
he can't be describing The Wave.
Right.
And then as you went on, I was like, I have to say The Wave.
Got it. That's why it was weird to you. Okay, because it wasn't just like, oh yeah, that's The Wave. Yeah, I know that movie. It's starring so.
No, in my brain, I was like, nobody here has seen The Wave. So Rob can't be describing The Wave right now.
I don't remember this, but when you brought up The Wave, and clearly I don't know the title, I can't even associate it with the movie. Did you describe the plot? And I still won't admit that it's called that. And I still won't admit it. Did you describe it? Did you describe the movie? And I still didn't know.
I don't remember the context, but I do remember being like, everybody's seen The Wave. It's part of like a thing that they just make everybody in school watch. And then I was like, oh, I guess not. Because nobody knows what I'm talking about.
I was wrong.
I did not explain it in those details that you did, for sure.
Stand corrected. I have seen The Wave, Brett. Sorry, past Brett.
I have not seen The Wave, but I did see this movie about this history teacher who's like Anyways, we gotta move on, guys. We're running out
We
of
do.
time.
We are.
All
Run
right,
it
let's
up.
move it.
Rob Ryan, great
Keep it
jokes.
going.
Next
Get
up, we
some
got
crap.
LeClerc. But before we get to LeClerc, just want to remind everybody to check out our Patreon, best Patreon in the game, patreon.com/ITA pod. Got a lot of dope additional tiers you can get on there, some dope additional content you can get on there. Patreon.com/ITA pod. Join for as little as $1 a month. And next up, we got LeClerc Andre.
You ever get a phone call and you know that you're on speakerphone like immediately?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can tell not just by like the sound, but like you could tell by the person's behavior that they're on display, right?
Sure.
I got a call from my friend, and I knew I was on speakerphone immediately, and I could tell I could just feel his girlfriend breathing on him in the background. And he's like, "Hey, LeClerc, man, crazy night last night. Can you tell my girl how I was with you at the comedy show, man? Can you just let her know? We were at the New York Comedy Club because she thinks I was, doing wild shit." And immediately I was like, "He's cheating on you." Like, right away, I'm like, he's cheating on you, baby girl. Leave him. You can do better. And she starts like celebrating me. She's like, "Thank you, LeClerc. You're such an honest guy. I knew that you're not the type of dude to cover up for, cheaters." And like, I wanted to take that and own it, but part of me was just like, "Hey, if you're gonna support me, really support my comedy. Like, come out to my shows. Don't lie about supporting my comedy. Come out. I need you to be here." But I do think it's crazy that people hang out with. I think liberals hang out with other liberals, whatever. We kind of draw weird lines in the sand, but like people would be like best friends with a dude who's a chronic cheater and they're a faithful person. And I find myself in a space where I don't want to hang out with cheaters because I don't want to lie for you because I don't even lie for me. Like, why would I lie to your girlfriend about you cheating? I don't even lie to my girlfriend.
That's
about
really
me
funny.
not cheating. So like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But that's the idea I wanted to play with. Is this idea of like, why is that a bro code to lie and like cover up for your friends who are being terrible? Like, if your best friend is a kidnapper, you're not going to be like, "Yo, bro code, I can't lie." He's not a kidnapper. He's just mysterious. It's like, no, he's kidnapping people.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, I don't know how that became bro code to like lie about cheating and like gross behavior.
You have so many good angles.
Yeah,
in this.
there's
Go,
lots
sorry,
of
go ahead,
stuff
Jarret.
Really, really funny. The one idea that I thought that the way that you did the reveal was really funny, but I also think it'd be funny if you wanted to play around with it. He's like, "Just saw her, I was at New York Comedy Club," and you're like, "Yeah, I know where he's at New York Comedy Club. He fucked like 4 girls at New York Comedy Club."
If there's a possibility for after you go, he's cheating on you, and her to respond, if you could for some reason like bring back the speakerphone thing, like if you're like, "Hold on, can you just take me off speakerphone before we like discuss this?" Or I just feel like there's room to bring back the speakerphone in some way.
That's a really funny angle, the speakerphone part, because I think it's used oftentimes with this idea of like, "Hey, can you prove to so-and-so that this?" But it's also used for a bunch of other really, really funny reasons that I could tie into this joke as well.
Okay, so here are my thoughts. You started by saying, don't you ever know sometimes when you feel like you could tell that you're on speakerphone right away? But I don't think that the wording that your friend used suggests that you had to do any figuring out. He said, "Hey, could you tell my girl?" Which obviously means that you're clearly on speakerphone. I was getting amped for the joke where you are going to, through your friend's actions and through your friend's words, you were going to piece together that you are clearly on speakerphone. So I thought it was going to be more like, "Hey, LeClerc, man, remember last night, man? That was so fun. You and I just chilling, playing some backgammon. That was a fun night, right, man? Just and you are clearly like, what am I on speaker with your girlfriend?" Then your line could even have that much more effect, where you're like, "Hey, girl, he's cheating on you," because he hasn't even told you that his girlfriend is on the line, and then you just give the whole thing away. I don't know if that's something you'd be amenable to or not.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I also think I kind of botched the setup. Like you said, I talk about how you're on speakerphone even if they don't tell you. And then when I set it up, I made it like very transparent that I was on speakerphone. But I do think there's a really funny angle, Rob, in the idea of him like trying to pretend and using language like to hide the fact that I'm on speakerphone. Because guys, they do that all the time, like try to be coded like, "Man, it was crazy. But they're not explicitly saying that, you know, they're using you to be an accessory.
Yeah,
I love that. What if you, like, while he's doing this thing, like, first of all, you make him real quick on it, like, oh, hey, LeClerc, like, before you can even say anything. Hey, LeClerc, hey, good to see you, and man, we had a great time last night. And maybe you try to say like, oh yeah, and he's like, don't interrupt me, man. I'm not done talking. Just let me just. We were out and we had a good time
at the comedy club and nowhere else.
I also think it'd be fun to like play really, really dumb. Like, wait, is this a code blue? Wait a minute. Like, just play like I'm a complete idiot. Wait, is a girl listening? And are you trying to hide the fact that you were cheating on her last night? Got it. I'm ready now. Can we start again from the top? Just like, no.
Another thing I was thinking, but I couldn't think of a good example for. This almost is like a visual sketch where like it's the speaker on top of the speaker. Like first the reveal is that this guy's on speaker, then the second reveal is that like I, LeClerc, am also on speaker with somebody else who, or because then it made me think that like when you were talking about hey, can you just let my girl know whatever? And then he's like, he's cheating on you, girl, blah, blah, blah. And then she started responding to you. So it's like, oh, thanks, LeClerc. You're such a good guy. I know, blah, blah, blah. And then that's the reveal for you to like have your wife on the line be like, yeah, what else? Something along those lines. Or maybe even she's got something, like her dad's also on speaker, just something, just keep on.
What if you stop her, you say, hold on, let me put you on speaker so my wife can hear this.
Yeah, oh, yes, that's true. Yeah.
And then that would bring back the speaker thing that I was talking about.
That's super clean.
You're like, I really appreciate you telling me the truth, Clerk. You've always been so honest. And you're like, yeah, totally. And you and I have never hung out, just the two of us, right?
Oh, that's all really good. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I love the line that you had about why would I lie for you when I don't even lie for me? I think that's such a good line, man.
I like too the idea of, well, you know what's funny? You could go either way, which is like, you could say that you don't want to do this. You could say that you never do this, or you could say that you do it and you hate it and you wish that you would stop. So it could be something as clean as just like, I have never lied to my girlfriend. I have definitely lied to your girlfriends. I am a horrible person to your girlfriend. The amount of shit that I've had to say to your girlfriends is just, I can't sleep at night.
What if there's a thing that you want to lie about that's not cheating? It's like the thing that a guy who is in a committed relationship and who's monogamous and doesn't cheat would lie about, like, I was not the one who ate all the ice cream and then put the empty container back in the freezer, or I'm the one who taped over the DVR of that show you wanted to watch. But you're wasting those lies on your friends who are cheating, where you're like, I need those lies, but I'm wasting them on these assholes. But now I got to tell my wife that I, ate all the ice cream or whatever.
Ooh, I really like that angle, but I like it. Maybe I like the idea that like when you do have to lie for your friend, it is of the like top tier, top shelf type of lies that you just don't want to be accustomed to. Not one of my friends ever just has me lie about something small. They never call me on speaker and be like, hey man, could you just tell my girl I didn't eat all the ice cream last night? Yeah man, he didn't eat the ice cream. That was probably me, man. I was hungry. It's always like, tell me I didn't fuck this girl. I'm like, that's crazy. I can't lie that big. That's huge. Something like that.
And after I ate the ice cream, I left my dish in the sink and I did not clean it.
P.S. He's cheating on you. Bye.
There is a great storyline similar to this in Mr. In Between, which is this very unknown show that was on FX. It's Australian. Very, very similar thing in the first episode with a bro who's like, hey, can you pretend that you left your DVD of like pee porn at my house? And he's like, why would I bring a DVD of pee porn to your house and leave it there? And he's like, please just help me out. And he's like, all right. And then he comes and the wife's like, this is yours. And he's like, yeah. She's like, that's disgusting.
All right. Anything else for LeClerc, everybody?
I like that third beat too. I feel like we didn't get to explore that, but I like that equivalency to the other things where like you wouldn't the code on kidnappers or some other parallel with that. I do really enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to think about that because I forgot about that third beat, and I'm just like wondering, like, is there a way to like bro up other things? Like, I know obviously the kidnapping, murder, those are good. I'm wondering if maybe like if you're doing a coup, maybe that would be like a funny example also to like do bro code for. Because it also feels like if somebody does do a murder, like they would enlist their friends to give them an alibi or something like that, but they wouldn't if like they were guilty of like a building code violation. Like things that are like really technical, I think would be really funny to try to bro code around. It's like, I put the water pipes there.
Also, I think that when people lie, they're lying out of their own self-interest, or they're lying out of fear. But so if he calls me and he's lying to his girl, I understand him lying to his girl. But there's no incentive for me to lie at all. There's very, very little incentive. What do I gain? I didn't bust a nut when you cheated. Like there's very, very little.
And also, if somebody, if one of you murdered somebody, you're like, I could probably be like, well, there was probably a situation where you had to murder them. Like it was probably self-defense, and then your situation. But you're like, I know you shouldn't be cheating on your girlfriend.
Yeah,
it's not good for you. I don't want you to do that.
It's hard to find a good justification for that behavior. So like at the end of when it's said and done, like I'm lying, my integrity is now being compromised for you. And now not only am I lying for this person, but also now she's going to look at me like whenever she eventually finds out, she's like, oh, and his best friend's also a piece of shit for going along with it. Like girls will forgive the guy they cheated on them with, but they'll never forgive the friends who covered up their cheating.
I do think that line about I don't get to come when you cheat is funny because it also creates like a really funny like what if act out that you could do. Because if that was the case, then absolutely I would lie 100%, man.
like your identical twins. Like, dude, are you fucking right now? Because I just came.
Yeah, you just like lying in bed, just like high-fiving yourself so that they feel it. You know, nice work.
That's the worst superpower ever. Being in the middle of a job interview and your twin is having sex.
All right, thanks so much for your bit, LeClerc.
Yeah, great stuff, man. I love that.
All right, back and clean up. I got Joe Bersey. All right, I got a short one for you guys today.
Good.
Perfect.
I think it's interesting how a nice brand can give something an air of legitimacy. Like you automatically think that something is nice or authentic if it has a good brand. And so I was thinking that maybe people who do illegal things could have brands also because it might confuse police into thinking that they're legitimate. Like instead of going to the park and being like, I'm selling drugs, you can be like, I'm selling Dale Crest smokable crystals. And sex workers could brand too. It's like when you're horny, you don't want just any street pussy. Look for the pussy with the shizzle bizzle seal of approval.
Bizzle, seal of approval.
It's dumb, but that's fine because we only got 10 minutes. So
I like it. I want an example of a brand giving something legitimacy for like a real brand giving something legitimacy first.
Okay. Like Crest is a toothpaste that we trust. You know, they can give us whatever flavor or fluoride or whatever. We see Crest and we're like, that's toothpaste.
Right.
I trust it.
Oh, question. What was the name of that testosterone booster that makes your
T-Drive?
Yeah, I think it'd be great if they were like sponsored by ShamWow, right? For the larger than average load.
That's great. They should have a partnership for sure.
And if you're going to take T-Drive, don't forget to pick up one of Aaron's buckets. Perfect for your massive size loads.
I think it'd be great if you could tie it into real brands. I think that's where the
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, if you can.
So it shouldn't be Dale Crest smokable crystals. It should be like Johnson & Johnson smokable crystals or Heineken smokable crystals.
I because well, here's the thing that I have is that brands can go from being, relatively obscure, no name to very popular household items. Then you're going to something that is illegal and making it palatable to the police. So maybe that's a little stranger.
Too much of a stretch.
Yeah.
Too many leaps.
A smidge. Now there's something.
I don't know. I feel like if you were, because America is so caught up in corporate materialism, I do feel like at least a portion of the population, if you were like, they're like prostitution is wrong, it's immoral. If you were like prostitution now brought to you by Coke, there would be a portion of the population that'd be like, I guess it's good, maybe it's in the Bible or something.
It is. I think I liked just the idea of branding a drug for some reason. Maybe it could be a different justification for it.
Well,
You
some
know.
drugs, I mean, like marijuana is becoming increasingly branded, so it's not like too crazy far off from reality. I haven't seen like what, if anything, has emerged as like the trusted brand in weed just yet. It seems to still be it's kitschy that everything is sort of homegrown, small.
That's a good point, though, because I have that other joke about weed culture changing from everything being Bob Marley, Grateful Dead to being like, Errol Farms' organic stress relievers, and so maybe that could lead into maybe they legalize other drugs, and then it's no longer meth, it's Dale smokable crystals,
I've been playing with a similar idea, and it ties in with of course marijuana being so mainstream now. And with it being mainstream, we have edible drugs, but if we made other drugs edible, like bath salt and vinegar chips, or Molly Ranchers. Like there's a lot of
Molly Ranchers. Good.
It's so much more digestible. The idea that because food is such a indulgent, fun thing. So the fact that weed has worked its way into that market, I think that nothing's more wholesome than brownies. What if
No, LeClerc, were you saying this is a joke that you have?
It was a joke I've been like playing with, but I'm happy for you to.
No. I'm not going to take it. No.
I've got a joke on my album that is also similar to this.
All right. So this joke is a combination of other people's jokes and nothing.
Well, wait. I think I can half justify what you want, which is maybe you're concerned with the consistency, or like, sometimes you buy some weed and it's really strong. I know with mushrooms, like they can really waver, but that's the thing that comes along with brands is quality control. So maybe that's why you want a branded thing. Maybe you're like, one of the drawbacks of buying drugs is that there aren't major brands. So sometimes the weeds is a little bit stronger, sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm high for 12 hours. Sometimes I'm high for 2 hours. That's why I would like branded weed.
What if you branded the drug dealers? Because all you just want is to know that you know what you're getting. It doesn't have to be the best shit every time. You just want to be able to know when you're showing up to the Spirit Airlines of drug dealers. That's all you want to know. You're like, oh, okay, that way you know what you get. Like if they just had little uniforms and name tags, you're like, oh, this is going to be junk weed. Okay, at least I know. Oh, this might have fentanyl in it. Ah, all right.
At least I know.
Yeah.
Something really funny about the idea of brought to you by blank.
Yeah.
I think there's something really, really funny about that. So whatever the nefarious activity is, I think if you can tag it or end it with brought to you by, and it's something that we all know, I think that's really, really
pawn
funny.
shops.
Right.
Yeah. I think slogans too would be funny for this joke. If you could think of some good drug and prostitution slogans.
But it should be rooted in something real. Not like, I don't think the joke should be you making up a slogan. I think it should be an existing slogan that we already know, and then that to tie into whatever it is that we're selling.
Every drug dealer slogan is just do it. Just do it. What is this? Just do it, man. All right. Thank you for the notes, everybody.
Why get the milk when you can buy the cow?
Thank you for the notes, everybody. Next up, we got
the Leedy Corbin.
The Leedy Corbin song. It's the
Which we don't have time for today because we really got to get the
drawing. First up, I've got.
Little baby album.
That's got to go on the inside cover or something. This is LeClerc holding his album like a baby with a little diaper on, feeding it a bottle, and it says, "I am LeClerc comedy album."
Oh, that's great.
We've got Professor X using his mind powers, holding his hand towards Mystique, who is looking back going, ew. So we're just going to assume that he's sending a dick pic there.
Then I have the F word. You mean female? Can't put a muzzle on this guy.
Oh, no.
We've got everything Leedy just said. Rob looking kind of like, ooh, I'm a badass. And then he actually does get a muzzle on him in the end.
And thank God.
Stop saying female, fellas. They don't like it.
Then I have, theoretically, if it was super sexy, produce a little bit.
We have one of the Republican senators, is it?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
people in
Doesn't he
Congress.
look racist? He looks
One of these
Yes.
people who are real anti-abortion, getting off on, looking. He's holding a pillow over his boner, and he's asking about the abortions.
Excellent addition, Leedy.
Thank you. And last but not least, hey dude, ready to hang out? I got all the essentials. I got beers, I got snacks, and I got pee porn. And that is it for me.
Leedy Corbin.
Leedy Corbin, everybody. That last drawing was a nice rendition of the.
Hey!
Oh, Maya!
Look at that cute little baby.
Now there's a baby on screen. Leedy didn't draw that.
Baby.
She's so cute, LeClerc.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah. You did a
Well, you
great
and-
job
you and your
making a
wife
cute
are-
baby.
Yeah, you and your wife are beautiful people, so that actually does make sense.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
See, she's already got a teardrop tattoo. Sorry, see, she's already got a body. Mhm.
What a cutie.
Make sure you don't call Tina, by the way.
Oh, it's like genuinely happy to see us. She seems like a fan.
Yeah.
Now, LeClerc, I noticed when you handed your baby back, you didn't say "be careful" or "this is important" or anything like that.
Hey, don't drop this.
Now, so does that mean your wife is there, and so that we should act like you're on speakerphone right now?
LeClerc, you're such a great dad and husband, and
Yeah, you've been such a great guest on this show for the last 3 hours. You've been here on this
you've
show.
been here not doing anything else.
Mm. All right, LeClerc. People will look out for your album, right? I am
Yeah.
LeClerc.
Please
Yes,
do.
and they can follow you at.
They can follow me on at I am LeClerc on Venmo.
All right.
Nice.
Follow him there.
On Instagram, it's LeClerc Andre. LeClerc is spelled with all C's, no K's in that name, and hopefully you can figure out the rest.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there are other letters, but that aren't C. But
In the
but
last
there are no
minute-
K's.
You know, I was speaking with my brother yesterday. We were talking about we're still a little goofy and laughy about the whole concept of direct payment. And it's my Venmo. I want it to be so normal. Like paying people directly is seemingly the best way around everything.
Yes.
You don't have to pay some middleman to then pay this person, and everybody takes a little bit out of it. If you like the person, if you like what they do, paying them.
Yeah, but
makes
think about
the
gift
absolute
cards.
most
Like,
sense.
I could just give you money and you could spend it anywhere, but that is still the gift card's been
That's
around
the
for a
faux
while.
pas.
That's faux pas. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just so
So I don't know if
love
it'll
it.
ever change.
Do it. I am LeClerc. Venmo him. If you liked him today, if you liked his album, give him.
If you like
him
him
a tip.
tomorrow,
If you like him tomorrow, who cares?
I was about to say that too.
you're just ruminating on him today. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, Leedy, for drawing for us today. Great episode. Thank you for joining us in the chats. I'm just going to read off some highlighted chats here. Steel Mold said comedians are the only people who will say congratulations on a new album, but not a baby.
I
We
love
said it
that.
on both. We were more effusive about the album. I will admit
We're
that.
more excited about it. That's true.
Yes, it did take more work.
Is it possible to unsubscribe only from Rob and Jarret? I don't know what the context of that was, but I love it.
Excellent.
God.
Yes, you can.
That's Steel Mold. It's possible.
That was when we
I
were
don't know.
calling them all idiots for not putting the guests
Oh,
at third.
I see.
Oh,
Now I
right.
understand these comments. Okay.
Got it.
I'm writing another tag for your joke.
What's
Pepsi
that?
Can Smooth.
Hey, baby, go down on me. I'm not really in the mood.
It's very funny. All right. Awesome episode. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you soon. And the outro goes where, Jarret?
Here. Thanks so much for watching. Check back every Monday for new episodes, or you can listen wherever you enjoy podcasts. If you want to help support the show, tell your friends how much you like Is This Anything? Or get involved, like an episode, share, comment, subscribe. If you want more Is This Anything, you gotta join our Patreon at patreon.com/ITAPod. We have a ton of awesome exclusive content on there, and you can join for as little as $1 a month. Check out the links in the description, and hopefully we'll see you next week.